Hello. So today I'm going to show you the basic tools that you need to get started sand casting. If you've never done it before, these are the basic tools. I'll also post links in the description so you know where these tools can be purchased, plus some helpful video tutorial links step by step showing you exactly how to sand cast, because I'm not going to be showing you how to sand cast in this video, just the tools that you need to get started. There's a lot of different things that you can do with sand casting. So just the basic tools, and if you get your feet wet, you decide you like it and you want to get more tools, there are Facebook groups, there's a huge community of sandcasters out there, and a lot of different things that you can do with it, and a lot more tools that can be purchased. All right, so let's get started. Some of the tools that you will need are a chasing hammer. This is a chasing hammer where one end is round and flat, and then you have your ball peen side. This is for hammering the sand into your flask when you are creating your mold. I use this big steel mallet, and this works really well. So I recommend getting one of these. And then you're going to need a ruler of some sort, a flat edge, so that you can scrape off your sand during the process. Always use a tray. Get like an old, it doesn't have to be metal. I use metal, but any kind of tray for doing your sand in when you're chopping up your sand. Then you're going to need a flask, okay? And these, I will put links in the description of where you can buy these. And a lot of times when you buy them, they don't have this cut out, so you have to cut it out yourself, which is actually pretty easy to do with a saw. So totally doable. They do make them smaller than this. This is a few inches wide. And this is where you're putting your clay. So when you're doing your sand casting and you're packing in your clay, your sand, but it's actually clay, it goes in here. Okay? And you're going to need borax. You're also going to need some wax for casting rings, and some crucibles. So get yourself some really good Delft clay. It's not really called sand, it's called clay. I'll put a link below where you can get some good clay. You're also going to need some, what is this, medicated baby powder? Actually, cornstarch works perfectly fine. So if you don't have any baby powder, cornstarch, basically the same thing when it comes to sand casting. Cornstarch works great. And then when you put your cornstarch on your sand, you can use a paintbrush. This is not a paintbrush, it's a blush brush, a makeup brush. And I use this. A lot of people I see using paintbrushes. I think those might work better. I'm not sure. Or you can use a sock and you can put it inside the sock. You can put the powder inside the sock and just kind of poof it. I've seen people do that as well, but I think the paintbrush works well. Or the sock. And you're going to want various tools for when you start working with your sand, clay. I use things that are my silversmithing tools, but you can kind of see what it looks like and determine other tools that you might have or can get that look like this. And also I use these X-Acto blades. They're pretty good for when you start, needing to make things in your clay. And then some good metal straws also for making the sprue, which is part of sand casting. And then these I use when I need to make holes in my clay. These are just literally little like ring mandrel bending. You bend wire around these to make jump rings. So they're like jump ring mandrels. And I have all different sizes of them. That I think I got these from Beadsmith, or the jewelry store. A lot of times I'll even use toothpicks. And let me show you what I use for crucibles. When you're heating up your silver, I always put the crucible on a brick. So I have a brick. And then this is one of my crucibles. This is the one that I'm using for gold. Okay. And this is the one that I'm using for silver. So don't mix your metals. Keep your crucibles separate depending on the metal that you're putting in them. And you can get these on Amazon and other sites. I'll put it in the description below. But the Crucibles are really super easy to find, and they have all different sizes. So those are really good. Now let's talk about the torch. All right, so as far as the torch goes, this right here is what I use. And this is actually an acetylene torch, but this is what I learned how to silversmith with, so it's what I'm used to. But I'm finding out a lot lately that MAP gas, anything with MAP gas is pretty good. So let me bring you down here so you can see the torch that I use. So this is my torch. And this is what I learned how to silversmith on. It's an acetylene torch. This is what I use. Okay. And I'm going to show you another torch that I just got that I've been using for gold. I've recently got this at Home Depot, and it is a MAP gas. It's a Burnzomatic torch. So it burns really fast and really hot. And I'm using this one to melt gold with because it introduces the less impurities and carbon into the gold while you're melting it. So just basically so you can melt the gold really quickly and easily without it getting dirty. So this works well if you want to melt with a high heat really quickly. And this I got again, I think it was at Home Depot for like 60 bucks, around 60 bucks. So there's that. What else? I got a couple other things. Also have a good face mask, a respirator, because a lot of times when you're burning metal, you need to wear this. Okay, so I always wear this when I'm using my torches, and work in a well ventilated area. That's super important. I don't remember where I got this one. I can look it up and then I'll put a link in the description below. And then before I said that you need some wax for carving. I think I mentioned that for your ring that goes in the sand. So you're going to want to get wax. I know the green one is harder and the blue one is softer for like if you're making prongs on a ring and you want to be able to pop a stone out of it before you cast it. This is good. So this is the harder one, this is the softer one. And I'll put links where you can get these below. They have a lot of carving kits, wax carving kits that you can get. I'll put a link below. These are really good just for making your wax mold ring or whatever it is that you're making. In the sand, you can also take a piece of jewelry that you like a ring of some sort, and you can press it into the sand. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a wax mold that you create. You could take a piece of jewelry that you already have and imprint it into the sand, leaving that void to be filled in with silver. And then we'll talk about silver. And then this is a wax pen that melts wax also that I got from the jewelry supply store. Okay. And then last but not least, you do need a good a collection of silver, a good amount of silver. I have a lot more than this, but this is kind of what I have right here for now in this little container here. You need a lot of silver. You're going to need a good amount. Also, something else that's really good to have is some really good tweezers. Not like, the ones that you use on your eyebrows, but these are actually for metalsmithing. So get yourself a good pair of tweezers. You can get these on, I think, Amazon, definitely your local jewelry supply store. And I don't mean like a Michael's or a Marshall's. I'm talking about like an actual jewelry manufacturer supply store that sells like silver and different metals and everything that you need to do metalworking. I just remembered something else that's really helpful in this process is having a jeweler's saw, because when you get your ring cast, you're going to have some parts that you're going to need to saw off that are going to be really important. Your ring is going to come out and it's going to be attached to a button and a sprue, and you're going to have to saw this part off of your ring. So having a jeweler's saw is a really good thing. You're going to need that. And something else that's really helpful that you'll need once you get your ring poured is different files. I recommend having 4 to 5 different types and sizes of files. They come in really handy when you're cleaning up your ring. Also, once you get your ring cast, you're going to want to polish it after you file it all down, and it really helps if you don't have like a Fordham or something like that to polish, you can just pick up a Dremel. These are pretty inexpensive at any hardware store. Um, I've had this one for years and it still works. It's awesome. And some other things that will be helpful is if you want to weigh your wax ring mold to figure out how much silver you need to cast, you probably need a scale. This is a little electronic scale I use. And then if you're going to make a ring, you will need a ring mandrel with the different ring sizes, so you can figure out what size ring that you want to make. And this is what a ring mandrel looks like that has all the different sizes, and there's a lot of different ring mandrels with rings that you can get online. Whole bunch of different ones. And then I use calipers because I have to measure a lot, and it comes in handy when you're measuring jewelry and things. So get yourself a nice set of calipers. These are really important. So I hope this video was helpful in getting you started with sand casting. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section and I will try to help you as much as possible. Also, if you think there's anything that I left out, any important information about sand casting, feel free to leave that in the comment section. All of your feedback is welcome and much appreciated. Um, I'll try to assist as much as possible. And as usual, if you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. Other than that, I think we're done. Have a great day.